Hey, Helen.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
A little snotty, I'm not going to lie.
And so I didn't want her anywhere near me, and I suggested we try and do a separate broadcast, which is what we're doing today because we like challenges, don't we?
So it's a little bit weird not having you on this side of me or this side of me. It's very weird.
I quite like it. So what's the heat of the moment at the moment is, what do we learn from these exams that we're busy going through? All right, Rob, so what are you learning?
So what I've learned is that it is really a big time waster. I feel quite sad about the fact that we are probably not going to get to finish our history theme this term because we've basically lost about 2 weeks of teaching. And then parents sent their kids to school a little bit sick and snotty and coughing. And so because they wanted them to finish exams or write the exams. And so now some other people are snotty.
Which is the way it is, and it's just the way it's the way it's going to be. So we need to actually look at what are we learning. Can we change the way we do things, meaning exams? Who are the we? Is it the school? Is it your principal? Is it your PTA? Is it the Western Cape Education Department? Is it the DBE? It's always this nameless person who gives us instructions, but actually, who are they?
It's us.
At the end of the day, we have to make our voice heard, don't we?
And I think we have a lot of Sorry?
We're the ones who are assessing. So why are we waiting for someone else to tell us what to do and how to do it?
And I think we actually do have the flexibility to back ourselves and to do something differently and say, you wanted assessments, these are assessments, not just we've always done it this way and now we need to carry on doing it this way.
Absolutely. So we did a talk recently at a school where we looked at this whole issue of assessment, and we were trying to just formulate what question do we want to ask about this assessment? What are we trying to change? What is the question? So we used the CPS tools, and remember we did a session on this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 broadcasts ago, we looked at these tools.
We looked at the tools that you would use to analyze a question. And so with this particular school, we looked at assessment and how can we change it to make it more suitable for us. And at the end of the process, and there are 3 tools that are used, or many tools, before we get to this process, it came up with, we wish assessment was more collaborative and continuous. I like that. Collaborative meaning connected and continuous all the time, not one strong...
I think the collaboration is between teachers, between schools, even within the classroom, allowing kids to collaborate for an assessment.
Yes. Imagine if all 5 schools in your area did the same test. Could be fun.
Amazing.
It means only one teacher. Yeah. And then how might we approach assessment in a way that benefits and challenges the individual? So we know here that often your brightest kids do not come in the top 10 because they are sometimes kids who really don't care whether the teacher has, whether they're going to get a little tick or a merit badge or whatever comes with that.
And exactly, and often that we give them this assessment and then it really isn't challenging, and so it's just boring, and so we don't engage those top individuals or those top thinkers really because they're just like, oh, it's the same old boring thing again.
Totally. How might we, that's the teacher, be more courageous? Well, I love that word, to make assessments purposeful and relevant to the learning in the classroom. How's that one, Rob? Courageous and to make it more purposeful and relevant to learning.
And I think I love that word courageous, you picked it out, mainly because we do need to take more risks to try different things. I've mentioned to you that I tried assessing history in a different way, and the number of emails I got prior to the history assessment on Friday about what should my child be studying and why haven't I given pages out of the textbook to learn. And I was very nervous when the kids were writing the exam because I really wasn't sure that they were going to be okay. And of course on Sunday, as I whipped through them, looking at them, that the kids actually did exceptionally well, especially those that were engaged in the classroom. It was great, but I sweated. I was very scared.
Change requires bravery, doesn't it?
Yeah.
might we ensure that assessment is purposeful, effective, informative, and varied, whilst allowing for professional judgment without sacrificing excellence?
Wow, that's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words, and almost I want to break it down and say that assessment is purposeful, full stop. Or so one kind of assessment can be purposeful. We're going to go into it and we're going to do it like this. It's an experiment, and the next one is effective because you're measuring a different thing, and then it's informative because you're doing the pedagogy of correction, where they're allowed to correct work and score more marks, which is something you did on a project. They could bring it to you before due date for criticism, verbal criticism, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and how might we connect as professionals to to educate and assess meaningfully to ensure lifelong learning?
Love that concept of lifelong learning. I think it's amazing. I think that's one of the things that often we don't do with assessments is we do the assessment, especially during this period of time. We mark it, we hand it out, we tell the kids, here are the answers, check that I've marked everything, and you take it back in again and you move on. There's no looking at, oh, where did you do well? It's, that's great. You've achieved that thing now. We need to look at where did you not do well. We need to work harder at that thing. You haven't learnt enough there yet. And that's culture of just, putting it to bed and moving on. I think it doesn't grow lifelong learners.
Exactly. But you know why we do that? Because we've had enough. We just can't wait to pack the papers away and move on to some teaching, because that's what we want. Okay?
Exactly.
So what they did was they did this stick 'em up, post 'em thing. And what I found was they grouped them in the Converge session, where the end result is not focused on the learning process. There's not learning happening during the testing. I don't know. And it takes away from your teaching time, which we know, because you've just said you've been robbed of 2 weeks. So time was a big factor. Another big factor was questioning the whole function of assessment.
How are we using it?
Yes. And do we reward creative and practical intelligence? I think a lot of people are trying to do more creative and practical intelligence, because I'm seeing it in the papers, and I'll show you an example just now. But also,
you've got a lovely example.
What do the Western Cape Education Department demand of us? Do we have this freedom in the first place?
It's quite interesting because they keep putting out sort of documents and ideas and various things promoting critical, creative, strategic thinking, being practical. But then in their exemplars that they send out, we just back in the old-fashioned format.
Same old,
very interesting.
40 years ago, same old stuff. So we still are bound, okay? And then came a lot of new and original ideas about what they'd like in exams. But in fact, this isn't the process. The next step is about ideation, where you would brainstorm wild and creative ideas. But what's coming through is they would like continuous incidental assessment, where the world isn't shook up for 1 week.
Exactly.
Panics. Okay, it was just happen where you watch a movie and then you answer a question paper, and that becomes your mark. You know what I mean? You have to do some research if you have a device by yourself, and then write a 10-line piece. That's your long question. You know what I mean?
You build something. That's your practical assessment.
It's every week you're doing them from week 2, I would say. And no learning, just listening in class. Are you paying attention? Maybe the kids would have to pay attention better then, and not play around and jack and fidget.
So it's quite interesting, because I'm laughing at the no learning. The fact is they will be learning. It's the no rote learning, no studying notes endlessly to try and shove it into your brain. There is learning because they're engaged in the classroom, and part of the assessment task is that they are being assessed. What have you learned so far, and what do you still need to learn? So there is learning. It's just what we're doing is exam time. I don't think there's any learning happening in exam time.
So they're also saying let's only start exams in grade 7. Why are we starting in grade 4? So today I was invigilating in a grade 4 class, and I must have been there for 20 minutes, and I had 20 questions. They are just not ready for exams, and they were so nervous and they were so struggling. And what killed me was, while some of the class were completely finished, about 6 kids were only halfway, and there was like 10 minutes left. They were only going to show half of their knowledge. They were just slower. It was, and so speed became an issue.
Yes.
How quickly they worked. So lots of things are coming to light. But what we do need to realize is here's this example of practical intelligence that I saw. It's not really practical, but they had to cut out all the jumbled up parts of the digestive system, stick it down in the right order, and then label it.
And you know, that's for a child that is more tactile and more kinesthetic. That really helps, because now that thing has a shape to it instead of it just being a flat drawing.
And in fact, I did see somebody put the stomach in the wrong place just for interest's sake, which was cool. You know, someone who didn't open the book. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So this is really what we're saying. It's insanity doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It's time for bigger changes, these incremental changes. We need to be bold and brave, and we need to come to the fore and do something different. What do you say?
And be courageous. I love that word, being courageous. And it is hard to be courageous because it's scary. And actually, it's very interesting as well, because those questions and those risks you take end up going out to parents, and they see it and they're critical of what you're doing. It is scary, but it's also awesome when you see the kids really engaging with a new idea in a new way. It's lovely.
Well done, Rob, for changing it up there and doing a test where no one had to study, even though 15 parents phoned you to say, what must we study? And you were bold enough to say, nothing. It's all So good luck for the rest of the week with exams. And then, of course, next week, it's comments. So coach in the class, and we got you covered. Rob, what are we going to do?
So we did the end of last term, we did that fabulous thing about the Lazy Sue comments. And I think we'll repost that one, because it was a really good broadcast with amazing tips and tricks in it. And we'll repost it maybe earlier next week again, maybe even on Friday we can post it. And then you've got it for the weekend when you're doing your reports.
Good luck. Fuss bait, be strong.
Have a fabulous